Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mike, and today I want to talk about the concept of toxic positivity and why I think a lot of people, not all, would hate to generalize, but a lot of people are thinking about toxic positivity in the wrong way. And this is really important because I think positivity is getting a bad rep. So this is going to be a really positive, it's going to be a really important video if you're struggling to feel better about yourself and you're feeling a little disheartened about how you can do that, and you're just overwhelmed or sick about hearing about this concept of positivity. I just want to share my perspective about positivity, and it's by no means a unique perspective, but I do think it's an important one. Now, I don't need you to agree with me, but I would like you to hear me out. To borrow the expression from Alan Watts, I would like you to consider what I have to say as though I were playing a musical instrument. Yeah? You don't have to agree with what I'm playing, but just consider what I'm going to share with you as though I were sharing a piece of art or sharing my creation with the world, right? It's not dogma. This is not a prescription for you to take on. Why do I think that a lot of people have got positivity wrong, the way of thinking about it wrong? Well, in order to explain that, I would need to first explain the incorrect perspective of positivity that I think these people I'm referring to have. And it's like this. They view positivity as though it were a binary concept, i.e. there were just two options, on or off, right or wrong, positive or negative, and that's it, right? As though positivity was an absolute concept. You're either negative or you're positive. And I don't think positivity is like that. I think because in my view there is nothing which is absolute that we come into contact with. In other words, everything is relative. It also therefore means that positivity must also be relative. Positivity for me exists on a spectrum. So in a vacuum, positivity doesn't exist. Positivity is only positive relative to something else. And so I think a very good way to think about positivity is to just look at an electrical circuit. An electrical circuit has a battery, right, which powers the current, which gives power for the current to flow around the circuit. And if you recall from your days studying science and physics, the battery has two ends, a positive and a negative pole. Now, these terms have changed to cathode and anode, but back in the day, they used to be called positive and negative, and I'm sure some people still refer to them as the positive and negative end. Well, are we saying that the battery has a happy end and a sad end? Well, of course not. So what does that refer to? Well, the positive end of a battery within a circuit is simply that end of the battery out of which the current is flowing. It's the end of the battery which gives the direction, right? The forward momentum. And it's the negative end which is the passive end. In other words, the end which is receiving. So we're talking about the receiving end and the directive end. And in its most simplest form, that is what positive means. To be positive doesn't mean to be happy. To be positive means to be able to direct, in this context, direct your thinking. And by directing your thinking, you can therefore affect your mood and your emotion. So get this, to be angry might be a positive thing if you are coming from a place of depression or grief or shame. If I was feeling grief or shame or depression and I was able to shift that mood to a relatively higher frequency of anger, that would be a positive thing. So anger could be positive. So if you've been angry or upset or disappointed and someone said, be positive, well, I want you to know that if you had improved your mood from a relatively lower mood previously, then you have been positive. So to be positive doesn't mean to start at the bottom of the staircase and take a leap right to the top of the staircase. To be positive simply means to take the next logical step upwards or forwards. That's what positive means. So if I'm in a place of blame, if I'm in a place of powerlessness, like for example, when I broke up with my ex, I was in a finger pointing mood. I was blaming a lot. It's her fault. She's the reason why we are in this position, right? And then eventually that mood shifted to anger. That was a positive thing, relatively speaking. And then from anger, the more work I did on myself, that shifted to disappointment. And then that was a positive step. That was me being positive. When I moved from anger to disappointment, that was a positive jump. So I was being positive. In other words, I was being directive. I was being intentional, right? That is what positive means, to direct. It doesn't mean to be happy. So notice I've not mentioned that I was happy all of a sudden, or I leaped to joy all of a sudden. What I am saying though is that I was directive and intentional and conscious in my thinking, which affected my mood and my emotions. And then eventually I went into the more traditional positive or happy moods. So I hope that helps. Just thinking about an electrical circuit and remembering that a battery has a positive and a negative end, and the positive end isn't the happy end and the negative end isn't the sad end. The positive end is that directive, forward momentum end, that part of us which is able to direct our thoughts or direct our thinking. That's what positive means, to be directive. So the next time someone says be positive, remember, it doesn't necessarily mean, even though they might not know it, it doesn't necessarily mean to just go from wherever you are to simply happy. It just means to consciously and intentionally move to the next logical step. If you were to do that, you would be positive. And that's it. It's that simple. And so that's where I think a lot of people are giving positivity a bad rep. Because when you start to think about it in this term, in this relative term, that positivity is relative to something else, then I hope that frees you up next time you read certain material and it says be positive. Think about it in that way. And think, if you just shift your mood to the next logical step, you would be positive, and that would be okay. Even if that means shifting from depression to anger, that's positive and that's okay. For the time being, we don't want to stay there, of course. We want to continue to be positive and to continue to move forward. But so long as you are doing that, then you are positive. If you know that, if you take that away from this video and put that into practice with a new way of thinking about positivity, then you're winning. If that was a new perspective for you, I'd love to know. Let me know. If you already knew that, if that was the way you were thinking about positivity, I would love to know as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you found any value in this video whatsoever, please let me know by hitting that like button. That would really help me out. And if you want to stay connected with me and be informed about things around communication and interpersonal relationship skills, then consider subscribing to this channel. My name's Mike. You've been beautiful, and remember, you are eternally unique and therefore infinitely valuable.